Yo, it's Bam Memo back with Media now. I've already done a video on the God body, part 1 through 8, and I'm on the last part, right? And the rest of those are on my YouTube page if you want to find them. But for y'all that want to get into this God body talk, this is basically talking about all the principles of the God body or principles of the Melanite man. We're talking about Egyptian culture. So you're dealing with how every system, every spiritual system is different to each their own, depending on the culture and where they at in the world. And you can choose to be in a system if you want to, or you can choose to, you know, be just who you are. You feel what I'm saying? But I tend to study the Egyptians more often because I resonate with their information a lot. So for if that's what you do, then you go ahead and you get into some of their information as well. If you resonate with this, like, follow, subscribe. So when you're dealing with the principle of the Ka, like I explained in the last video, the Ka is dealing with the intellectual and thinking abilities, the pituitary gland that sits between the eyebrows, right? While the principle of the Ak deals with the pineal gland inside of the brain, as you can see right here, deals with that pineal gland inside of the brain that we call the third eye Horus, right? And understanding that this is dealing with the mental or the meditative abilities that are within you. So when you're talking about meditation, so the Ak is found located at the top of the head. When you're talking about it superposes on the pineal gland inside of the head, and then what happens is when you send this energy up through the spinal cord and different things like that, we talk about the cerebral spinal fluid. It will open this crown where the pineal gland sits. And if thy eye be single, thy eye be filled with light, as Jesus was saying in the Bible, right? So, and that's what's happening. So when you uh the crown seat is where the pineal gland actually sits, but they try to tell you the pituitary is the crown, but the pituitary is not the crown. The crown is the pineal gland inside. And so the pineal gland is in direct relationship with the tonsils, and also which is referred to as basically, we call it the ascending triangle. And then you have the descending triangle, which is formed between it used to be something called the Bathari gland, but they got rid of it out of the body. I'm talking about the Anunnaki. So this would be a part in the part of the submental brain in the back. So when you're talking about the etheric you, right? Ether is black and filled with all light substances of all colors. So you're gonna see multiple different colors throughout ether, but primarily the crown chakra, you're dealing with more of a violet color. But when you understand that the third eye also deals with violet and blue as well. So when you're talking about these etheric bodies, that's what it is. Is you have the etheric you that is basically the incorruptible self of you. You know what I'm saying? This is a part of you that is in the mental that can never be destroyed, right? Basically, basically, as you die, this will be the part of you. If you get judged correctly, I mean, get judged and you're lighter as a feather, which is meaning you judging yourself. I told you this already. Then you're this part of your etheric self will actually go up into what they call the etheric heavens, right? And that's Orion, right? And so then you have another aspect of you, which is the memory of the mental and spiritual abilities that will go into your children, and will, you feel me, and this will be carried over, this information. And this is could obviously be good or bad, but if you if it's positive, you will give these gifts and abilities to your children much faster. And I explain this too, like a cathode and an anode, or like this battery, like a cation and an anion. You always have a positive and negative electrical charge, or we call it a positive and negative electrical currents, like current C. We tell you this because we're dealing with waves. So it's termed the pingala or the I or the eta. So all manifestation gives rise from polarity. So without duality, I don't want to say duality, but without polarity of two sides, or positive and negative forces, you cannot have anything come into physical manifestation. So because the third force is really what you call the middle pillar. So you're talking about walking that middle path, or when you're in meditative state, that's when you're really only in that complete balanced state. And what we call, you access this 0 point, or the green etheric energy, green particle energy, right? And that's what it is. So do you know, and it goes up. This is when it's completely balanced between the spine. This is why you see Tahuti with the staff of Hermes Trimes Gustus, and you have the two intertwining snakes of positive and negative forces, and then the wings up top because that's representing the masculine and feminine, positive and negative. So you know, so in Egyptian tradition, right, they would call these chakras, you feel me, that is connected to this positive and negative willpower of manifestation. They call it parusat, or as lotuses, or they lived in the Nile River. So you're talking about how these I said roses, Lord, these lotus flowers would have a certain number of petals, and these certain number of petals was actually what we are determining as frequency. Is so we're using this flower as a representation of frequency, and understanding this is how the chakra centers are opened up. You know what I'm saying? So when as things come from that point of singularity of it manifests from positive and negative forces, they create this the auric field, and this auric field that comes out here has these frequencies that come out of it, and these frequencies are going to create certain geometric shapes based off of the intertwining of energy, and so this is all done by what? By frequency. So it looks almost like flower petals, right? And so these lines or these waves or the strings or vibration is in the forms of petals, and it really, these tones, what happens is they stretch or they go towards the tone of the 19 universes, or the Om, or we say Om. You feel what I'm saying? So the number of petals in each lotus is the same as the number of spokes or rays in the sun. We're talking so to if you ever wanted to experiment with this, you could use a revolving disc. You can and you have to understand that colors are actually vibrational waves moving at different speeds. So if you wanted to know the color of a frequency, it would have a certain number to that color, or same vice versa, because of the speed of the frequency or the oscillation in a circle. You're talking about how energy cycles. Also, like when you meditate, you're using this pineal gland the same way, able to determine what frequency it is based off the colors, based off of the geometric shapes. Those two things, you're able to determine the frequency which you are presented with, or which you can, allow yourself to enter into through willpower. So you understand that the chakra seats are affected by these different sounds, colors, vibrations, tones, frequencies. All the chakras are affected by other frequencies, or we're talking about how the internal affects the external. You feel what I'm saying? Or how your thought process is what is affecting the chakras. So when you deal with the chakras, there's a voltage or a current between the crown. I'm sorry, y'all. There's a voltage or a current between the crown and there's also a current that starts at the root chakra, and we understand how these two, when we're talking about, work together with each other. So this all takes place in the cerebral spine, the spinal system, or you're talking about your spinal column, all in the spinal fluid, and this is where you're talking about the electromagnetic energy resides. So it expands and it expresses its electromagnetic wave fields of positive and negative charges or impulses received by the cerebral spinal system, which illuminates different colors of light. The electromagnetic waves contain etheric particles of green light, and this is what I was saying earlier. So this is what's happening when you're talking about the principle of the Ak, is to understand etheric space, even at the highest level, and not just the lower planes of reality, because you have as above so below. You have ethers within as without, and you have a higher ether and lower ether. So but as you understanding the pineal gland or the crown seat, and how opening this pineal gland and learning to develop this pineal gland is what leads you to not only seeing the higher version of yourself, but also being aware of the things around you and within you, to on a whole nother level.